All right. Just a quick one today to talk about the return of Jordan Peterson. Now, if you don't know who Jordan Peterson is, maybe you've been living under a rock. Or maybe you're just not that interested in social commentary and stuff like that. But Jordan Peterson is a doctor of psychology. He is or was a professor up in Canada, and he came to prominence around 2016 when there was a big debate going around, especially a lot of the universities, about gender pronouns and things like that. Okay, and he got a lot of backlash for basically standing up to laws that were being put in place to make people use gender pronouns. So that's kind of, and then he got some time on Joe Rogan's podcast and kind of blew up from there. Became a very popular person to go to for social commentary. He talks a lot, because of his background in psychology, he talks a lot about a lot of different subjects. And he talks a lot about, he has this whole series on YouTube, and this was before he became a prominent person in the media. It's you either love him or you hate him. I personally love him. But he has all kinds of videos about, like social psychology and how things came to pass and his kind of thoughts on societal issues and where we get certain ideas and things like that. He has tons of videos on like hero archetypes, and he has a whole series on how the stories of the Bible are still important stories and shouldn't be discarded. Not that he's, like a prominent Christian or anything like that. He just thinks the stories are valuable. Anyway, brilliant guy, though. If you listen to him talk, if you haven't ever listened to him talk, it's crazy. He's, the best thing to me about Jordan Peterson is his ability to be introspective. He's extremely introspective and always looking at his own ideas and re-examining his own ideas, his own biases, and, trying to be, I guess, the most informed person that he can be, including about his own thoughts and ideas. So that's what I admire most about him, is his ability to look at himself and kind of be judgmental, not just be a social commentator. And a lot of people, talk about everyone else and everything else and how everyone else thinks and acts. But he not only does that, but does a very good job of looking at himself and trying to fix the things that he considers maybe are, not up to par with his personality. So he's constantly even examining his own ideas that he's had in the past. So that's what I think makes him a worthwhile person to follow, because he's not just spouting the same nonsense forever and ever. He's got the ability to look back at himself and say, hey, maybe I wasn't looking at this in the correct way, which a lot of people are horrible at that introspection, horrible at changing their mind about things. He also has a best-selling book, basically about putting your life in order. So, if you don't know who he is, that's who Jordan Peterson is. Anyway, Jordan has been on hiatus for over a year after spending 3 or 4 years in the public spotlight and traveling around and doing these debates about Marxism and feminism and all kinds of things. And he disappeared. He just disappeared like about a year ago. And we would get periodic updates, but he was ill. He was very ill for a while. And he just came back, like maybe 2 weeks ago. his daughter, Michaela Peterson, if you want to look this up, Michaela Peterson has a podcast, and she was doing updates throughout, like little quick updates about, Jordan is in the hospital, or Jordan is doing this, or going through this. Well, he's feeling more like himself again now. He made it through a really hard time, and he did this hour-long interview on his daughter's podcast to kind of describe what happened, and it was great. It was great, man. So basically, for the past year, Jordan's been going through some addiction issues. A couple of years ago, he was going through a really stressful time with being in the public spotlight all of a sudden, and his wife was very sick, and they thought terminally ill, and he was having a rough time, and he was having anxiety and panic attacks, and so a doctor prescribed him benzos, and that's just a mood-altering substance, if you will. I don't know exactly, but they prescribe it to patients who have like anxiety, depression, things like that. So he starts taking these benzodiazepines, right? And he figures out very quickly that they are highly addictive. He doesn't know it at first, right? He figures it out later. He's like, man, it was working really good. It was helping me sleep for a while, but now I'm having all these serious side effects. And then he finds out, which he even says he should have known this, being a psychologist and kind of knowing of some things in psychiatry and different chemical interactions and stuff like that, and people taking certain drugs and stuff like that. Not that he is a doctor who prescribes drugs, but just that he's in that world and should be aware of these sort of things. So he introspectively said, I feel kind of dumb not knowing what the hell I was getting myself into. But apparently these benzos are only supposed to be short-term solutions. Like 2 weeks. 2 to 4 weeks, I think, at the most, or something. And he was on them for several years and was highly dependent on them and had serious side effects from taking them. And then when he tried to go off of them, he had serious issues and serious withdrawals, and ended up having to go through a crazy detox. And this was like a year-long process of him trying to get off of these drugs. They were putting him on other drugs, trying to wean him off of the benzos. And he somehow ended up in a Russian hospital, going through a detox program, an intense, crazy detox program that they said could possibly kill most people who go through it. These drugs are very dangerous, and that was kind of what he wanted to put out there as a public service announcement. That's what this podcast was really about. He wanted to tell his story and the issues with these benzodiazepines. And he made it very clear, the dangers of taking them long term. He said that, they might be a good short-term solution, but taking them long term is incredibly dangerous. So he made it through this ordeal, and had a really hard time with it, and now he's kind of feeling a little bit back to normal, and it seems like he's sounding, like the old Jordan Peterson, so I'm really happy to hear that. And I hope we start, if he feels up to it, I hope that we start to see him again in the public spotlight, because I think, especially right now, is a time that we need people like him, man. People who are really smart and really think deeply about social issues and ideas, and can be introspective about them and consider his own biases. We don't have a lot of those people anymore. Like, public intellectuals used to be a big thing a while back. Public debates used to be something that happened. And until Jordan Peterson came around, I don't feel like that was happening, at least not on the scale that it was. I mean, like, millions of people tuned in to watch Jordan Peterson debate socialism and Marxism with another gentleman. And I just had never seen that. Like, it was like a YouTube video, and like, you know, hundreds of thousands of people were online watching it live. Like, it's crazy. And like I said, I just think we need some people like that right now, some real thought leaders, to put ideas out there. Not necessarily just to follow blindly, but just to really think things through and give an educated perspective on. So I am really glad to see that he pulled through and he's back in decent health, at least. And it was a great podcast. You should definitely go listen to it if you're a Jordan Peterson fan or follower. Like I said, his daughter, her name is Michaela Peterson. If you look that up on YouTube, you'll find it right away. Jordan Peterson Family Update. But yeah, a lot of people, the people that have a problem with Jordan Peterson, like to say that he kind of, his banter attracts young, angry white males, right? And I am a male, but I'm not young, and I don't consider myself angry. You can go back and watch like the couple hundred videos I have on this channel. Not a whole lot of anger in me, in terms of, you know, as a general rule, I'm not a generally angry person. Pretty socially aware, I feel like. And yeah, I'm a fan because you don't see smart, you know, educated and well-spoken people become popular anymore. Not for that, anyway. Not for being an intellectual. Like, it's pretty awesome to see. So anyway, Jordan kind of represents that, like this reemergence of the intellectual thought provoker, you know, and I really dig that. So happy to have him back. Anyway, that was the video today. It was kind of just a little rant about Jordan Peterson and me being glad to have him back. But like I said, if you haven't checked it out, go check out the podcast with Jordan Peterson. If you don't know who he is, go listen to his Joe Rogan podcast, or he has a channel on YouTube. It's called Jordan B. Peterson. He has a bunch of his lectures, his collegiate lectures, because that's originally how he came, you know, before he got in hot water and before he made it on the Joe Rogan podcast. He was only really known for his lectures that he would post on YouTube, and they garnered quite a following. So anyway, that's it. I've rambled long enough. If you enjoy videos, podcasts like this where I just ramble, you know, when I talk about things that I feel like talking about, you know, that's what I do. I try to post a video and a podcast daily, where I just talk about whatever's on my mind. So if you enjoy that sort of thing, subscribe for more. Like the video, share the video, and thanks for watching. I'll check in with you tomorrow.